Hello, this is Linda of Christ is King Forever. I'd like to preface this with, even though it's on the screen and even though it might seem as though, as the church has taken it in the past, because it's not thinking it through, that it's anti this group of people. It's not, because it's not saying Jewish, it just says Jew. And if you're part of a religious group of people who happen to also be a certain bloodline, there are people in your bloodline that don't always come correct. Same with every bloodline, right? So this isn't so much a group against a group, okay? Just want to preface it with that. Secondly, the names of the churches that Jesus is addressing through these letters. He is talking to 7 churches, and he's appearing before lamps, and it must be menorahs because these 7 churches fit on the menorah found in the book of Exodus, which are 7 branches. He's appearing and he's telling them very specific things about the end days and about something about the churches that happen to also exist at that time, but history is on a wheel and it's whatever, it repeats itself. The name of one of the churches is the Church of Philadelphia. Everybody wants in on that church. I do. I always have. I want in on that. The reason why is because he promises to rescue them from the final hour. So maybe like the Rapture Church. I don't know. So there's also Smyrna. Smyrna, its name means suffering, right? And Philadelphia means brotherhood. If you put all the 7 churches on a menorah, which I have a video of, you'll see that Smyrna and Philadelphia meet in the middle, right where that major kind of centerpiece sits, where all the other branches kind of come out of the trunk. I know there's a special name for it, and it's like the one that's used to light all the candles on the menorah, and it's lit a very strategic way from right to left. I got it. So, which might mean something too, that maybe the last church would be lit first. I'm just thinking. So Philadelphia means brotherhood. Smyrna means suffering. They actually mirror each other. They meet right there in the same place. They sit in the same place, opposite sides of the branches, and they both have crowns. So he says, you already have a crown, keep it. Just hold on to it. And then he also tells one, you're going to suffer. You might even suffer 10 days. He's going to let Satan sift them. And then the other side of the branch that happens to match when you put them on the 7-branch menorah is Philadelphia Brotherhood. And he said there's an open door for them, and he's going to keep them from the hour that will test the whole earth. To me, this is very supernatural stuff. This means God's control of time and space, and he can do whatever he wants. Like, this is his video game, and he can do what he wants. So what I try to do is be loyal. This is what this type of topic teaches me. It gives me like a reverence and an awe of God and a fear of God that's very healthy. But anyway, they do talk about 2 groups. They will also have this in common. They are hanging out somehow, some way with Jewish people or Jews. It doesn't say Jewish, it says Jews. And they happen to be of the synagogue of Satan. So people in the church have taken this as a sign that there's something bad there, and of course it's created anti-Semitism and all that. It's created replacement theology, and replacement theology means that we replaced Israel, which according to Apostle Paul, who was very smart, who was a Pharisee, who's the greatest extinguisher of Christians and saints of his time, ended up meeting Jesus, and he wrote Romans 9, 10, 11, my favorite, and he starts with how his heart is breaking in Romans 9 for his people. Heartbreaking. It's just really sad stuff to read. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because there is something to do with a fellowship between 2 groups that is a flip of the coin. Meaning, this group might be tricking people. This group might, especially when things get rough and stressful, and especially if any group of people value things more than life, lifestyles, anything, they're going to get tricksy, and they're going to try to fool people. Now, it's going to win people over too. I mean, there's a group here, maybe the Brotherly Fellowship, the Philadelphia, maybe they're winning people, and maybe that's why they're able to do what they came to do, and then they're kept from that final hour. And then there's Smyrna, the suffering church, and they're actually persecuted. And is it for the fellowship? Maybe they flip that coin and people trick them into places that hurt them, which is satanic, by the way. So there's also the 2 witnesses. And the two witnesses found in the book of Revelation are said to be Moses and Elijah. Moses is the law, and that's what he represents. And then there's Elijah. Some say Enoch, but anyway, it doesn't matter because it's the prophets. Basically, the power, fire coming down from heaven, the great signs and miracles. So they'll testify and they'll give one last chance. I think it's like in a really important city, probably Israel somewhere, and probably Jerusalem. But anyway, so they're going to give people one last chance. They're going to appear and they're going to have fire come down from heaven, and people are going to be in awe and amazed, but then they die, and then somehow 3 days later they rise, and people are like, whoa, this is wild, which, by the way, matches. There's an earthquake right after that, too. You know how I feel about earthquakes. You know how I feel about that. I've done videos on it. So I think it all matches somehow, some way. What I'm saying is time is layered, and somehow, just like if you have the blueprint of the building, and they put those transparent things over the blueprint in order to fill in the lining of the blueprint. I don't know what those things are called, but they're clear and they have like outlines that fill everything in as you layer. And somehow time is that way, and I don't know why, I don't know how, and I'm not pretending to know how, but I do think there's something interesting about the fulfillment of the prophets and a fulfillment of the law. They say they're two groups. They say they're the Jewish folks and they're the Christians. That would kind of make sense, because then you've got the 144,000 that are being sealed around some time. Is it before or after people lose their heads for their faith? Is it while people are in heaven waiting for people to be, but God says, wait here for a while your brothers and sisters basically die and lose their head for the faith. So I don't know what it all means, but it's just really interesting lately, because I was thinking about that, how there's kind of a match between the fellowship of Jews and Christianity, which are found in the letters Jesus wrote. And it's also, people think, could be not so much two people, just two, but two groups of people that actually are doing these miraculous things. And then I was also thinking about the way Moses kind of died but never was found. He was like, buried by God or something? And how Elijah, in front of people, went to heaven, which both of these witnesses do end up going in front of people to heaven. And then there's also the fire. When Elijah was prophesying or did that whole miraculous thing with the prophets of Baal, and the fire came down from heaven to consume the altar, which is God. God did that, not him. And that to me is interesting. I mean, is there something like that happening where there's a showdown that's occurring in the last days? Also, Moses had fire come down from heaven where it was blocking people from getting to them, so the sea could open and people could be delivered, could pass through. So I don't know. It's just all very interesting. It's what I've been thinking about lately. And yeah, this is my video. This is Linda of Christ is King forever. May God be with you.